A lot of us walk around every single day carrying wounds that nobody else can see. We smile. We go to work. We handle our responsibilities. But deep down, there's something sitting heavy on our chest. Somebody hurt us. Somebody betrayed us. Maybe somebody even broke us in a way we never thought we could be broken. And instead of healing, we decide to hold on to it. We clutch it like it's proof of what they did to us. Like if we keep replaying it in our minds, somehow justice will show up. But here's the truth. Holding on to resentment doesn't punish the other person. It punishes us. It's like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. See, forgiveness isn't about saying what you did was okay. It's not about letting them off the hook. It's about setting yourself free. Think about it this way. When you refuse to forgive, you're tying your happiness to someone else's wrongdoing. You're saying, my peace depends on you fixing what you broke. But what if they never fix it? What if they never apologize? What if they don't even care? Is you going to spend your whole life shackled to that moment? Forgiveness is cutting that chain. It's saying, I refuse to give you control over my spirit any longer. Now, psychologists will tell you the same thing. When you harbor resentment, your body actually keeps score. Stress levels rise. Your sleep suffers. Your relationships suffer. Even your immune system weakens. All because you're replaying the same injury over and over in your mind. It's like living inside a wound that never gets too close. But when you forgive, you give your body and your mind permission to heal. It's like finally the thorn out instead of pressing it deeper. And let's talk philosophy for a second. The ancient Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, they believed that we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. That's power. Because when someone wrongs you, that's their action. But your response, that's where your freedom lies. When you choose forgiveness, you're reclaiming that freedom. You're saying, you can hurt me once. You won't hurt me twice. I won't let your action dictate the rest of my life. Now, I know somebody's listening right now saying, but you don't know what they did to me. And you're right, I don't. Maybe it was betrayal from someone you trusted with your whole soul. Maybe it was a parent who didn't show up. Maybe it was a friend who left you in your darkest moment. I don't know the details of your pain, but I do know this. If you keep holding on to it, that pain becomes your identity. It becomes the lens through which you see the world. And you were created for more than that. Forgiveness doesn't erase what happened, but it stops it from defining who you are. Think about the people you admire most. The ones who radiate strength, wisdom, peace. Most of them aren't people who never got hurt. They're people who got hurt, sometimes worse than you could imagine. but chose to forgive, and that choice made them powerful. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's one of the strongest moves a human being can make. Because anybody can hold a grudge. Anybody can stay bitter. But to release it, to open your hand and let it go, that takes courage. And here's the part that really matters. Forgiveness heals the heart. I don't mean that in some fluffy, good way. I mean, it literally changes your life. When you let go, your heart gets lighter. Joy comes back. Love comes back. Creativity, passion, laughter. They all come back. Because now, your heart isn't clogged with anger anymore. It's free to beat the way anymore. It's free to beat the way it was designed to beat. Let me make this practical. Maybe you can't forgive all at once. Maybe it feels too big. Start small. Say to yourself, today, I'm choosing not to replay that memory in my head. Or, today, I'm choosing not to talk about what they did to me. Do that for a week. Do it for a month. Slowly, your brain learns a new pattern, and over time, you'll notice you don't feel as heavy anymore. Forgiveness is rarely a one-time event. It's a process. Right? But every step you take is a step toward freedom. And let me leave you with this thought. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. You might never get to the apology you deserve. You might never get the explanation you wanted. But you don't need it to heal. You don't need their permission to be free. The key was in your hand the whole time. Forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you do. So, if you walk out of here remembering just one thing, let it be this: holding on. That keeps you in the past, but forgiveness gives you back your future. Freedom is one of those things everybody says they want, but most people don't realize how often they lock themselves in their own prison. And the bars of that prison, they're built from grudges, regrets, and old pain that we just refuse to let go of. Think about it. How many of us wake up in the morning already chained to yesterday? We're thinking about who did us wrong, what mistake we made, or how life should have gone differently. And the whole day, that weight is sitting on our shoulders, dictating how we move. That's not freedom. That's captivity disguised as normal life. Letting go is the key that unlocks those chains. Now, I'm not talking about ignoring the past or pretending like it didn't happen. That's not letting go. That's denial. I'm talking about consciously deciding, I'm not going to let this moment hold me hostage anymore. And when you do that, you experience a freedom most people never taste in their lifetime. Here's the psychological truth. The human brain isn't designed to thrive while stuck in the past. Neuroscientists will tell you that rumination, the act of replaying painful experiences over and over, literally hijacks your brain's resources. It keeps you in survival mode, always tense, always on guard. But when you let go, your brain shifts gears. It starts to create new neural pathways that open you up to joy, creativity, and possibility. In other words, you can't step into tomorrow's opportunities while clinging to yesterday's pain. The mind simply doesn't work that way. And from a philosophical angle, letting go is the purest form. Strength. The Buddhists have been teaching this for thousands of years. They say suffering comes from attachment, our need to cling to how things should be, instead of accepting what is. And isn't that what grudges are? An attachment to the idea that the past should have gone differently. But when you release that attachment, when you stop demanding that yesterday play by your rules, suddenly you find yourself light, free. The moment you let go, you step back into your own power. I'll give you an example. Imagine you're holding a rope and someone's pulling it on the other side. The harder they pull, the tighter you grip. And soon your hands are burning, bleeding. But here's the thing. You could just let go of the rope. It's that simple. Most of us don't, because we think holding on somehow gives us control. But in reality, letting go is the only control we truly have. That's what freedom looks like. Doesn't mean you forget the pain. It means you refuse to be defined by it. Now let's bring this closer to life. Maybe somebody walked out of your life and you can't stop replaying goodbye. Maybe you lost a job, and every time you think about it, you feel less than. Maybe you're angry at yourself for mistakes you made years ago. Whatever it is, ask yourself, how long are you going to carry it? How much more of your future are you willing to sacrifice to something that already happened at some point? You've got to decide, do I want to stay locked in this room? Or do I want to walk out into freedom? Because that door has been open the whole time. You just have to step through it. Taoist, one of the biggest misconceptions is that letting go means you're weak or that you don't care. But the truth is, it takes incredible courage. It takes courage to say, yes, this hurt me. Yes, it shaped me, but it will not own me. And the funny thing is, the moment you release it, you don't lose, you gain. You gain peace of mind. You gain clarity. You gain the ability to live in the present without dragging the past behind you like a heavy chain. That's real freedom. And here's something else. When you let go, you make space. You ever notice that when your hands are you can't pick up anything new? Life works the same way. If your heart and mind are packed with bitterness, resentment, and regret, there's no room for joy, no room for love, no room for opportunity. Letting go isn't just about release. It's about making room for better things to come in. So, if you're sitting here today holding on to something that's been eating at you, I want you to ask yourself one question. Is it worth your freedom? Because the longer you hold on, the longer you give it power over your life. Freedom doesn't come from waiting for an apology, waiting for things to magically change. Freedom comes the moment you decide to let go. And let me close this thought with something simple, but strong. You can't fly if you're holding on to chains. The higher life you want, the joy you deserve, the peace you crave, it's waiting for you. But you'll never reach it carrying yesterday's baggage. So let it go. Step into freedom, because the moment you do, the sky opens wide. When we talk about forgiveness, most people think it's just about finding peace for yourself, and it is. But forgiveness goes deeper than that. It also changes the way we show up for others, the way we build relationships, and the way we grow into the person we were meant to be. See, forgiveness doesn't just heal the wound, it strengthens the muscle. It doesn't just fix the relationship, it shapes your character. Think about relationships for a second. Every human connection, marriage, friendship, family, business, is going to hit rough patches. Somebody's going to let you down. Somebody's going to say something they shouldn't have said. Somebody's going to forget, mess up, or it's guaranteed. That's not a maybe. That's guaranteed. Because we're all human. And if every time someone wrongs you, your response is to cut them off, you're going to live a very lonely life. Forgiveness is the glue that keeps relationships from falling apart at the first crack. Now, weakest. I'm not saying you should tolerate abuse or stay in places where you're constantly being hurt. That's not forgiveness. That's self-destruction. What I am saying is, in healthy relationships, forgiveness is what gives us the ability to weather storms. It's what lets a couple stay together for 30 years despite mistakes. It's what lets friends pick back up after years apart. It's what lets families heal after hurtful words. Without forgiveness is usually the weakest per ship eventually collapse under the weight of disappointment. Psychologists back this up. Research shows that forgiveness increases trust, deepens intimacy, and even improves physical health within relationships. Couples who practice forgiveness report higher satisfaction and longer lasting bonds. Why? Because when you forgive, you're signaling to the other person, our relationship is bigger than this mistake. I value us more than I value being right. That creates safety. Loud's usually the weakest. It builds a foundation strong enough to handle imperfection, which is the only kind of relationship that actually lasts. And let's take this further. Beyond relationships, forgiveness also strengthens your character. Want more? Think about, notice, about the kind of person you want to be remembered as. Do you want people to say you were bitter, cold, always holding grudges? Or do you want them to say you were wise, compassionate, strong? Forgiveness is the difference. because forgiving forces you to rise above your emotions. It forces you to see beyond your ego. That's not easy. But every time you do it, you're training your spirit like lifting weights at the gym. Little by little, you grow stronger. The philosophers understood this. Aristotle said character is not what you say, it's what you repeatedly do. When you repeatedly practice forgiveness, you're shaping yourself into someone who can carry more love, more peace, more wisdom. You become the kind of person people want to follow, want to learn from, want to be around. Because people are drawn to strength, not the kind of strength that intimidates, but the kind that uplifts. Now, let's be really, sometimes forgiveness doesn't fix the relationship. Sometimes the bond is too broken, or the other person isn't willing to meet you halfway. That's okay. Forgiveness isn't always about reconciliation. But even in those cases, forgiveness still shapes your character. It keeps you from being hardened by the experience. It lets you walk away with dignity instead of bitterness. And that matters because who you become is always more important than what you lose. Let me tell you something. I've learned forgiveness multiplies. When you forgive one person, it gets easier to forgive the next. When you forgive in one relationship, it spills over into others. Your kids see it, your friends feel it, your colleagues notice it. Forgiveness is contagious. It teaches the people around you what strength really looks like. You never know your choice to forgive might be the very thing that gives somebody else the courage to do the same in their own life. And maybe the most powerful part, forgiveness strengthens your ability to love. Because love without forgiveness doesn't survive. Love without forgiveness becomes conditional. I'll love you until you hurt me. But love with forgiveness, that's love that lasts. That's the kind of love that doesn't just endure pain, but grows deeper because of it. And at the end of the day, isn't that what we all want? To give love, to receive love, and to know it can last through the ups, then downs. Forgiveness is the bridge that makes that possible. So yes, forgiveness heals the heart. Yes, forgiveness unlocks your freedom. But it also makes you into a stronger, wiser, more loving human being. It strengthens your relationships and it strengthens your soul. And if you really want a life of impact, of influence, of legacy, you cannot do it while holding grudges. You that kind of life by practicing forgiveness again and again until it becomes who you are. Let me leave you with this. Strength isn't shown by how long you can hold on to anger. Strength is shown by how willing you are to let it go. Because in the end, forgiveness doesn't just change your story, it changes you. And when you change, everything around you changes too.